With Bitcoin prices over 10,000, that's highly profitable. It's making over 5,000 profit per coin. And even some of the farms with access to the lowest electricity rates, it's estimated by CoinShares that their cost of production is as low as 3,500. Hey everybody, I'm John. Once upon a time, I was working in finance in Dublin, and at the start of 2018, I took the big risk to move to Lisbon and pursue a career in the cryptocurrency industry. And after some months of hard work, I built up my client list, and I was doing freelance work in cryptocurrencies, providing content strategy service and research. And then I built up my research agency, Adaptive Analysis, and I'm here today to talk about cryptocurrency mining on blockchain beyond hype. Okay, sure. How would I explain blockchain to my grandfather? Well, my grandfather used to own a store. So I would tell him, imagine you don't own a store, imagine you own a franchise. And in every franchise, there is a copy of the ledger. And in every franchise, there's an auditor looking at the ledger 24/7. Essentially, this is what we have in the Bitcoin mining industry. We have people putting in the work to make sure that the Bitcoin ledger is secure, making sure that every Bitcoin is in the place it should be. And also, these computers are responsible for processing transactions. So when I send money through a bank, the bank processes it. In Bitcoin, because it's a decentralized network, we have computers in the network processing the transactions. These are the miners, and they have an incentive to process these transactions in the form of a block reward. At the start of the Bitcoin mining, people used their personal computer to mine Bitcoin, but this quickly evolved as people used more advanced hardware to mine Bitcoin. It evolved from the personal computer CPU to GPU to FPGAs to ASICs. And today, the industry has become so competitive that people have huge factories full of these ASIC hardware and this is the only way that they can remain competitive, is by mining at a large scale. The only real people who can mine on a small scale these days are people who have really cheap or free electricity. Because it's become so competitive, the businesses have to operate at huge economies of scale. So today, most of the farms are located in China. The reason it is located in China is because in the Sichuan region, they have access to very cheap electricity. They have a thing called rainy season over there, where essentially there's an excess of hydropower, and the cryptocurrency miners can access very low energy rates. It's very characteristic of the industry now. A lot of the business concentrates in the areas where people can access the lowest rates. Because it's the natural evolution, it becomes more and more competitive, so the miners need to operate at larger scales, are highly incentivized to access lower electricity rates. It comes down to having to operate at a large scale. The most recent research released by CoinShares shows that the large farms are mining Bitcoin with a cost of production at about 5,600. With Bitcoin prices over 10,000, that's highly profitable. It's making over 5,000 profit per coin. And even some of the farms with access to the lowest electricity rates, it's estimated by CoinShares that their cost of production is as low as 3,500. But for the small scale miner, it won't make sense. Yeah, so the concept of mining being free money is extremely flawed. These miners make huge investments in hardware and huge investments in electricity costs. The concept of them just creating money out of thin air is completely wrong. And the idea that the difficulty adjustment rate, which adjusts every 2 weeks, being a flaw, I would argue it's one of the most smartly designed elements of the Bitcoin protocol, because what the role of miners is to secure the Bitcoin network. And if we have a drop off of miners because they can't meet their costs, that means the hash rate drops, and that means that the network is less secure, because a hash rate is the measure of the computing power. And if there's less hash rate, it means another entity can get this computer power to potentially attack the network. But with the difficulty adjustment every 2 weeks, it means if we have a drop off in the amount of miners mining on the network, the difficulty in mining will reduce, and it will incentivize new miners to come in. So it's a very, very smartly designed element, and it's designed to always keep the network secure. Yeah, so a lot of people argue that proof of work is unsustainable because it consumes a lot of energy. Yes, it indeed does consume a lot of energy, but the Bitcoin network will only consume what miners are willing to give it. Because what miners are essentially doing is that they're expending energy to produce cryptocurrencies. So if it doesn't make sense for them to do that, they won't do it. And the idea that the Bitcoin network consumes a lot of electricity, which it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not sustainable. It's more like a feature of Bitcoin than anything, because it's a very inefficient process for miners. They have to expend this energy in order to produce Bitcoin. And if it was a very easy thing to do, then Bitcoin wouldn't be very good money because everybody would be able to create it. At the start, you could mine Bitcoin from a CPU. After a couple of years, you could mine it from a GPU. And the way it works is you can expect a payout in proportion to how much computing power you're contributing to the network. So if I'm contributing 10% of the computing power of the entire network, I can expect 10% of the payouts. But because the computing power securing the network has continued to increase and get larger and larger, and we have more and more powerful hardware, we have a thing called mining pools forming. The role of mining pools is to reduce the variance in payouts. So if I'm a miner and I have a small farm, maybe a factory full of ASICs, I can join a mining farm, and they will pay me out based on the amount I'm contributing to their mining pool. So I'm getting more of a steady dividend as opposed to waiting an expected payout of every 100 years, which might be what I would expect if I was just mining on my own. The good thing about Bitcoin mining is it incentivizes the miners to source cheap electricity, and oftentimes that's in the form of renewables. An often argument against proof of work and against mining is that it consumes so much electricity, but in fact the latest research estimates that 74% of the energy consumed on the Bitcoin network is sourced from renewable energy. There's also some things which may show positive benefits towards the model. So let's say I have a natural gas farm. A lot of natural gas producers can't sell their natural gas to the grid because the grid cuts them off in case it gets overloaded. So what they do is they actually leak this gas straight into the ecosystem. But recently we have a new product that natural gas producers are using where they set up like a mini Bitcoin mining farm on their site, and instead of releasing excess gas straight into the atmosphere, they use it to power their mining. So they're actually making a net positive impact. I would say absolutely not. Mining is a very serious profession, and if somebody was looking to get into altcoin mining from an educational point, where they're willing to invest this money just to learn about how it works and get their hands dirty in the learning process, I believe it would be quite a good investment. But in terms of making another source of passive income, which is going to look after itself, not at all, because prices are the biggest factor that plays into miners' profitability, and we have no certainty into what altcoin prices are going to be. I believe proof of work is by far the most secure consensus mechanism. I believe that all the other ones which are being proposed have a lot of flaws in them. Proof of stake is the biggest competitor to proof of work at the moment. But if you just break down the proof of stake model, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. In the proof of work model, there's huge capital expenditures by the miners in terms of their ASIC equipment. So that means their balance sheet is extremely tied to both the value of Bitcoin and their ASIC hardware, because if they can't mine Bitcoin with that, it goes in the bin. So that means they're always incentivized to act in the operating health of the network. In the proof of stake model, we don't have this incentive. And if you break it down as well, with proof of stake, we have the people with the most capital running nodes and validating blocks, and they get paid a dividend to validate blocks. So they're incentivized to hoard their coins, and they get rewarded for doing so. But that means that the people who are actually using the cryptocurrency on a lower level, who aren't running nodes, are just getting their supply increasingly diluted, and it's going to be worth less and less money as it goes forward. I believe blockchain technology, as the blockchain that underlies the Bitcoin network, is already changing the world. Citizens who are in countries like Venezuela and Argentina, and that maybe their central bank has inflated their currency way too much, it gives them another option. It gives them the option to be self-sovereign. It gives them the option to invest in a cryptocurrency that they know the inflation schedule. And even though throughout 2018 the price of Bitcoin was dropping, it still maintained its value better than the Venezuelan bolivar. If we look at the historical trends of markets and technology, typically what happens is it converges to a point of winner takes all. It's why we have one Google operating as the dominant search engine. It's why with our social media, Facebook is by far the dominant. I believe blockchain will converge in a similar manner. We will have a decentralized protocol that has all the key features in it, and then all the developers and all the business people will be focusing on building upon that. Because if you think about it, any real actual innovation on smaller blockchains can be incorporated into the bigger ones. So I believe a handful of players will capture the majority of the market. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed my explanations about cryptocurrency mining. If you want to find out more about Blockchain Zoo, check out their YouTube channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you guys.